Coming at you from the OLR podcast studio.
It's really more of a basement.
Coming to you from the OLR basement studio.
But it's still a podcast.
Coming to you from the podcast basement studio.
Yeah, but you still need to say OLR.
Coming to you from the OLR podcast basement studio.
Oh, that's way too many words.
Coming at you.
That's not enough. You still need to say OLR.
Let's just start. It's OLR. Welcome to the One Lane Road podcast with Lucas and DK. I'm Lucas.
What's up, man?
That's DK.
How are you tonight?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm good. We had a busy week last week.
Busy week.
Interview with Georgia Smith, daughter of the WWE Hall of Famer British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. That interview.
People like that. People that's talked to me. Granted, not many people that I talked to, but the people that I did talk to that listened to it said, "Boy, she's a very good interview." And she asked, "Boss, she's just easy to listen to, easy to talk to."
Listen, yeah, absolutely. We've had, dating back. We're anybody that's listened to the show for the first time, due to our guest tonight. We're all over the place. We had country music. I don't know what you would call him. What brand of music genre you would call, but Ward Davis.
Yeah.
Does what I would call country music. It's not what everybody hears on country radio these days, of course, unfortunately. And
Tyler Childers has taught us not to use the word Americana, so we'll not use that.
Yeah, so we had Ward on, and then we had Addison Johnson, up and coming country singer, also. And then last week, like I said, Georgia Smith. So we're kind of all over the board with our guests, and tonight we'll be joined by a guy that I've listened to for many years on the radio, Outkick 360. Co-host Chad Withrow, who for years and years, 9 years actually, on Midday 180 on 104.5 The Zone. So really looking forward to our talk with Chad. If you're here for Chad, I think you'll enjoy it. We talk about his time at The Zone. The introduction now in the week 2 here in Outkick 360 on the Outkick Network with Clay Travis. He goes in depth about how that came about, and Chad just was a good talk, man.
All right, so here it is. Our interview with Chad Withrow.
So tonight we'd like to welcome to the One Lane Road podcast Chad Withrow from Outkick 360. Thank you for joining us tonight, Chad.
Yeah, it's great to be here, guys. Thanks for having me on the program.
So week 2 of Outkick 360. How's it feeling so far with you and PK and Hutton so far with your transition after being away for 2 months? How's everything going on the new network?
It's been great. Anytime you start something new, you're expecting a lot more hiccups with it, technical glitches, things like that. And honestly, as we record this, today was the first day we had even a minor technical glitch. We went off our stream for about a minute and a half because we lost internet in our studio for whatever reason. But, the first day, I'm fully prepared walking in that I'm going to be having to send out tweets or someone is saying, bear with us, have patience. First day, it's a new venture, and there's going to be a lot of things going wrong. But really, from day one, there were no big issues. It was smooth. The Outkick team, and that they partner with Savage Ventures, Neon Media. We have a Neon Media group with us, 3 people in studio with us every day, making sure everything's running smoothly. So on that end, it's been great. Now, going away for 2 months in show business or in sports media, 2 months is a long time to be silent.
Sure. And
to not have a gig and to not be doing anything. So that was one that was tough, but we stayed busy the whole time getting things set up with Outkick and with Outkick 360, that it made the time fly. But I will say, we had a non-compete that we had to negotiate down. For people that have to sit out 6 months or a year, that's very, very difficult to do and try to stay relevant at all when you come back. Because people just forget quickly. It's amazing how it works. You can be doing something for 10, 15 years, and you go away for 6 months or a year, you better work hard to stay visible during that downtime or people will move on. So, we worked hard to do that. We worked hard to set things up with Outkick 360. And so far, almost 2 full weeks in, it's been paying off. We're thrilled with at least the early product, but, also knowing that we're going to have to tweak things moving forward.
One thing I've noticed is that the new listeners, and I don't think they're accustomed to you guys, and I guess they just, they're on the Outkick Network. So I'll try to watch a little bit at lunch every day, and I just see, there's new listeners. every day because you bring over your old listeners from Midday. I've been really entertained by how much hate you guys have gotten just by being affiliated with Clay Travis.
Yeah, it's funny. So it's two different sides, right? Like when we were on 104.5 The Zone, we got a lot of talk sports. If we talked anything fun or any entertainment outside of sports, you had the talk sports guy,
Sure,
the older guy who just wanted you to talk sports. Now, I have not looked at the YouTube chat yet, but Paul Koharski monitors that throughout our show. If he said it's now talk politics guy, right? We come on, we're talking about the NFL draft, and there's people in there arguing how we're not talking about Deshaun Watson and cancel culture in China and all these different things. So it's funny to see that end of it, which, we take in stride and kind of laugh it off because we were hired by Clay to do our show.
Sure.
He's not one to tell us what to talk about. He didn't hire us to come in and be him. And lead the charge for, wokeness or cancel culture or whatever, the hot topics are of the day. He wants us to do our show and talk sports or talk whatever we want to on any given day. So that's been fun. Now, I will say the people that hate Clay Travis hate him so much, it's like they live to tweet us stuff about how we are sellouts for joining Clay Travis and we're going to burn in hell and we're killing people with COVID because we had the audacity to join the Outkick Network, and it's like we're poisoning all of America, which I find quite laughable when I see it. But for the most part, even people I know that their politics don't align with Clay's in this given time, I've been surprised with how, at least the people I know, and then a lot of people on Twitter, we haven't gotten a lot of negative stuff about joining Clay. I expected some people that I know in media to have a negative response to it, and they've been very supportive. They've said, look, it's a good move. It's where you guys need to be right now. It's a good platform. So, honestly, I have seen some of the hate, and the people that are the small minority are the loudest with it. But for the most part, I've been surprised that more people haven't had big issues with it.
Yeah, when the announcement was first made, I think that's when I saw several people initially early on said, I love you guys. I've been here since day one, but yep, you're with Clay. I'm done. I'm out. I'm like, yeah, it's the same people that were going to move to Canada if Trump got elected. You're not really going to stop listening. So with Clay, what I respect about him is that, a lot of us, I won't say everybody, but so many of us, especially our age group, and we're around the same age, we're all sick of this cancel culture. We're all sick of being told what to do. And Clay, I respect him. Clay's got such a diverse background with his law degree going into sports, but he's all over the place and he just stays true to himself. I remember a tweet one time, a guy come and said, he said, it must really suck to have to get on radio every day and pretend to be an asshole to be a millionaire. And Clay tweeting back said, it's not an act and I'm a multimillionaire, bud.
That is, Dustin, you nailed it. That is 100% Clay. I've known him when he wasn't a millionaire. And he was just coming back from the Virgin Islands as an attorney and met him in 2007. But he's always been that guy. He's a little bit smug, a little bit arrogant, overly confident, some may say, but that's who he is. He's an extremely confident guy in his own abilities, how smart he is compared to other people. It can rub people wrong sometimes. In the politics angle of it, people always, now you're a Trumper now, and you're this and that. And I'm thinking, look, lots of Americans vote for Donald Trump. Clay speaks for a lot of Americans that voted for Donald Trump, and that's fine. Clay never voted Republican until this past election. So for people that think that he's some loony, right-wing type person, look at his record. I mean, it's just laughable to me. Clay's very rational. I don't know how we got to a point in America where being rational and trying to look at things on different sides became controversial. And that's what I'm with you guys on it. The cancel culture stuff, it bothers me also. My viewpoint, 95% of the time, align with Clay.
Sure.
Now, am I going to beat on the drum as much as Clay does with some of that stuff? No. And maybe I should, but honestly, I look at some of it and I think it's not worth the fight. I've got a life going on away from everything else. I don't want to engage in some of this on social media because you just get lost in it when you start doing it. But I mean, it's just funny to me knowing Clay because he looked at everything. Honestly, when Clay's opinions on America and culture and law and politics, I agree more with that than some of his sports stuff. I think the times I get angry with Clay is he's such an extremist when it comes to sports views at times, and it frustrates me. But it's always funny to me, the people that say that. And I think you're right. For the most part, someone who's going to come in and say, love you guys, listen to you from day one, but I'm not going to listen to you now that you're getting a paycheck to play.
It's stupid.
And I come back and say, well, what if I told you that we're just going to still be up? That we're not getting paid to echo what Clay's saying. We can even fight Clay on stuff if we want. Would you then listen? Well, I just can't. I can't support something like that. I'm thinking, okay, buddy. Then I guess we lost you. But that sucks that you can't look at it, see it for what it is, and then give it a shot. And I think if people give it a shot, they're going to be pleasantly surprised. At least I hope.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Actually, today was the first day I've missed it. We had a lunch dinner, so today was actually the first day that I've missed it. But and I think what differentiates you guys with the other guys at the Zone, and when you say you took the time off, took a time away, and people didn't forget about you, for 9 years, the same crew with you and Jonathan Hutton, Paul Kaharski, even when last year that place started getting a little bit of a changeover with the morning show having the shake-up and 3HLs had a couple changeovers, you guys got to keep that same continuity for 9 years, being highly rated. Everybody loved Midday. What was the deciding factor? I mean, you guys, it was a shock. And I'll tell you this much. I tweeted the last Friday that you guys were on air. It came out of kind of nowhere. And you said, hey, today's our final show on 104.5. I remember I quoted the tweet and said, I'm at a funeral home, and this is the worst news I've got of the day.
It's funny because we had lots of tweets that day. Obviously with that announcement, I do remember that tweet. In fact, you saying that really stuck out. So I don't know that there was one deciding factor. It was important for us to stay together. You talked about the content, right? It was important for us to stay as a trio. And I think if you look not just at the Zone, but a lot of different places, you can see that the trend in sports talk radio is to go to two-person show.
Yeah.
One way or the other, right? So we had an inkling that was going to be happening at some point. That it was down the road, maybe a year from now, 6 months, 2 years, whatever, but that was going to become more and less likely for us to stay a trio. So that was important because it was important to our audience that we have those different viewpoints, and it was important to us that we continue working together because we really like working together. So I think that was a big part of it. And honestly, you guys, you work for a living. Anyone listening to this that works understands that if you have ambition and you have goals and you want to test yourself, you get to a point anywhere you're working and you start to look around and you think, maybe this is my ceiling, right? Maybe this is all there is for me at this place. We had a blast at the Zone. We crushed records. We ranked highly nationally. We did everything we could in that time slot, right? But when you're the only three people that stay together as a show for that long, and you're not moving to different spots or advancing your career in different ways, or the show's not being syndicated in different markets, things that we wanted and we were asking for, when those things aren't happening, you got to look around and assess and say, is this the right place for me? Do they just see us as this and nothing else, while we see us as more than that? And if someone else is willing to take that chance on you and show you the confidence and pay you with the confidence to go and do more, then you take that opportunity. So we didn't want to have scared money in this thing, right? We wanted to be a little bit bold with wherever we went. And quite frankly, the pitch from Clay and Sam and Outkick was just far better than anything else we listened to.
For me, it was your edginess. That's what always attracted me. And see, for years with my work schedule, I didn't get to listen to you guys. So when you went to the podcast app, that was great. And that's when I became a Midday 180 fan, because I would catch the morning show, of course, on the drive after, I would catch 3HL. So I knew the smallest amount about you guys. So when I was able to catch it on podcast or here and there at lunch, I thought, holy, this is where it's at. Because these guys, for whatever reason, with personality and different dynamics, you guys were the ones that would call out people and hold people accountable especially you and PK. Hutton's a little bit more laid back, but you and PK primarily would kind of get on people's asses in the media, and that's something the Nashville sports media, for better for better or worse, is a kind of a soft market when attacking players and personalities. But that's something you and PK have no fear of whatsoever.
Well, I think that, and I appreciate that. And I will say, Hutton gets after it more than you guys probably know.
Yeah,
it's funny. Like I always joke, Hutton got everybody fooled.
Yeah,
but he can have a much bigger temper than either me or Paul. We're probably just a little bit more out front with our temper at times. Hutton does a good job concealing it. But in the beginning of our show, I feel like, this is like the book of Genesis here. In the beginning, our whole thing was be honest. Let's not insult our audience by being fake and phony. Let's give honest opinions. Let's let things happen organically. Let's not force it. If something like banging hats comes around and it's funny and it makes us laugh, people pick up on it, we'll run with it for a few years. But let's not force, sayings and things like this in the first couple weeks of the show. Let's let it come to us with time. And first and foremost, be honest about our opinions. But and look, those opinions, and you guys listen, those opinions are about athletes in town or in the state, coaches, media members, right? I think media members at times are way softer than players and coaches.
Yeah.
Some of the biggest things we would have with people is if we dared to criticize someone professionally, like even for their opinion, that's in the media locally, that they would get hurt feelings way quicker than players at times. And that just wasn't us. We were almost wanting someone to come on and challenge our show or have an issue with something we said or challenge us on. I would have relished that opportunity to then come back and debate them on my show. But no one in Nashville really wants to engage in that way because I think, quite frankly, most of them get their feelings hurt too easily. And I'll say it also, I think they know that they'd lose a war with us. So I think they hesitate to fire shots back. I think a lot of times if they hear something about them, we've had people run to the bosses in the past, which is a big pet peeve of mine. If we criticize them in a totally professional way, but had any issue with something someone said on radio or something they were doing that was unprofessional or just not good, if we called it out, people run to bosses and they don't then go on their show and challenge us to it, or I don't know, just be better. Right? If I'm saying something negative about a show or about a podcast or whatever it may be, if someone gets really upset about it, it's probably because they're insecure with their own product. And they know that deep down, it's probably not as good as it can be, and they have nothing to fight back with. So instead, they get upset and run to a boss somewhere. And that was just never us. Like, if someone wanted to call us out for something dumb that we said on air, I'd have to come out and own it. Like, yeah, that was dumb. I messed that up. That was my fault. But guess what? Here's where we're still a better show than that one or whatever. But no one really wanted to engage in that way. So that just kind of, for whatever reason, became our MO.
PK got in one argument and ended up in a suspension, best I remember, for a couple of days or something. There's a
yes.
So I mean,
yes, he did.
Prime example.
Well, no, it was guys. It was a suspension. It was like a double secret probation.
Yeah.
It was a suspension, but it wasn't. We were just told at the time that to say, he was just going to have the day off. That he wasn't. And I'm thinking, what in the world? By the way, the temper with Hutton came out in full force that day when our program director walked in and told us that Paul was not going to be on air that day because he was none too happy that you had one host that walked out of the studio and left. Paul stayed there and finished his spot with another show. And then it was our show that was penalized for something that happened on another show when they were bringing Paul in to help the other show.
Yeah.
So we were none too happy that this is like in high school, you're playing basketball or football and your teammate's out all night partying and shows up hungover to practice. Then the whole team has to run except for him while he watches.
Yeah.
That's what Hutton and I felt like that day. Is we were the ones being forced to run suicide while Paul was sent home for a paid vacation.
So with Outkick coming up, you guys had your first event this past Friday, 6th and Peabody. Great turnout, great atmosphere. More of those planned?
Yeah, for sure. That's part of the VIP program with Outkick. So I know that they're trying to plan some more special events. That's something we love as a show. And you guys know, even with the Midday 180, it's something we love to do. We had the Pedal Tavern We had the fantasy football draft. We always had something kind of just around the corner, and that's definitely going to continue. I think you see with and you guys were there, but you see with Outkick, it's going to be really organized, much more of a big presentation with things like that for VIP. We've always operated kind of in our own shop with a lot of times with events. We like to do them, so we set them up. We like to, invite listeners that we know or have interacted with on social media and set it up that way. So I think you're going to see some small scale events eventually, just with Outkick 360, and I think you'll see us a part of bigger events with Outkick. Outkick has already done events in Chicago, in Las Vegas, and New York, and Atlanta, and different cities. So I don't think we're going to be going to Vegas or New York with Outkick 360 in the beginning, but might we have an event in Cookeville at some point? Sure. Chattanooga, yes. Knoxville, absolutely. So I think eventually you'll start seeing some more VIP events and broadcasts all across the state.
I might be able to help you out with a bar or two. I've been to a bar or two in Cookeville over the years.
Yeah, and also when we come to Jackson County or Clay County for an event, then we're going to rely on you guys to hook us up with the spots to be at. So
when you get to that point, you're closing in on the end. I don't know if you know it or not, but the end is on its way.
If we're doing a full, I wouldn't say that. Like
I would say that it's closing
we would
in.
Go to last, like if we did a full state tour and stopped in every county, like Hardin County, Henderson County, and West Tennessee would probably rank below Jackson and Clay. But outside of that, it's hard to find a lot of counties that would rank below. But if I think hard enough, I bet there's more. Lake County, I don't see us getting to Lake County or Obion anytime soon.
Right.
So I could see us making our way to Jackson or Clay County way before those places.
Absolutely. I mean, you'd be slumming if you went to those places, but it'd be rock stars here for sure. When the Titans Caravan, they never obviously came here, but they came close, and so Marcus Mariota and Taylor Lewan and all the big Derrick Henry, they're going to Clarksville and Nashville. We would get like Brian Schwanke. We'd get. I think one year we did. We hit it right, and we got Kendall Wright and Justin Hunter, the two stud receivers.
Oh yeah, those guys were well on their way to a Hall of Fame career, just like Derrick Henry is the running back.
Yeah,
I'm picturing you guys. Who's Will Zetek was probably the guy who played turnstile in front of J.J. Watt for a game.
Yeah, that's who we got.
The tackle performance in NFL history we saw with Will Zetek. You probably saw him up there in Gainesboro.
I think he was the star at Rite Aid in Livingston one time. For sure.
Oh, that's great.
Hey, what about something I enjoyed? The Chit Chat episodes. Are anything planned for those, or that's kind of on the back burner right now? I mean, I thought you did a hell of a job hosting those interviews.
No, I'm definitely going to do some sort of iteration of Chit Chat. Now, I don't have the right to the name Chit Chat, so
Gotcha.
That stays as property with Cumulus Media, but there will be a renamed podcast, be named later, that will be a similar format of I go somewhere in this country. Now, now the possibilities are more where I go and meet someone, and we sit down over drinks and have a 45-minute to hour-long conversation about everything that we possibly can. That's definitely going to continue. Not sure exactly when. The focus right now is just making sure everything's going smooth with Outkick 360, but I mean, I would expect something late spring, early summer at the latest, and there'll be an announcement with that too.
Yeah, I loved the concept, loved the format. I thought it was really just a laid back. Anytime you're sitting around, it's no different. I mean, you'd be at more little nicer places than like where we are, but I mean, just sitting back with a whiskey and Coke and whiskey on the rocks, whatever, and just getting talking to your buddies. Because I mean, the ones with Clay and Hutton, I mean, those were top notch, man. I have to say.
And that's the key is setting, right? Like that's what the key is. I want to make everyone feel as comfortable as possible, like we're just sitting down for happy hour drinks. And we've been to some very nice places, but it doesn't have to be a nice place. It could be in a dive bar in Salina, and if you have the right setting with the right person, and you're sitting down and they're comfortable, and I can make them more comfortable with questions I'm asking and things we're talking about, I think that's the key. And I usually know I'm not going to sit here and say that I had a bad episode. I can't even think of a nightmare scenario where someone wasn't talking or anything. But you really know, like 10, 15 minutes in, oh, this is going to be really good.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because you can tell they're starting to go on something where, I remember Albert Hainsworth started talking trash about his high school football coach.
Yes.
Kind of early in the interview, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be good because he's not going to hold back. Hutton, there were a couple things he talked about, like, okay, this is going to be really good. He's really comfortable. So you know pretty quickly, okay, I like the direction this is going. I'm going to steer the car a little bit more into this direction and just see where we go.
The Hainsworth, you're absolutely right, because he went in on that coach. He's like, no, I'm not showing up to his retirement. What do you mean say? I'm not going to say anything nice about that guy. So that was
you're harboring some serious ill will when you go on and make millions in the NFL and you're still that angry with your high school coach. But that's a lot of people, right? I mean, if someone
Michael Jordan
like wronged you and never made amends for it to that degree or tried to affect your future, then you're going to be angry with them. So I love the honesty, right? I'm never going to get mad at anyone or have any problem with someone being that honest. Hainsworth was certainly honest.
We've never interviewed Albert. I've talked to him a couple of times. We've never made it happen. Keith Bullock came on here and did a really, really good interview with us once, and he had been out during the day. We had like a 2:00 schedule. He ended up getting a little caught up with some time downtown, so we ended up catching him about 8:00 that night. So which Bullock was a little more amplified at 8:00 that night. It made for a great interview.
Yeah, Bullock can get after it. That's my guy. Keith Bullock. And he's been on the podcast too. He's great, right? Like if you get him going, that's another guy. You get going down the right direction, down the right path, and you don't know exactly where it's going to go, but it's going to be entertaining. That's for sure.
Yeah, we had in a couple of music references talking about just the interviews. We had a couple of my favorite musicians. I'm into the kind of like the country music that doesn't get played, but you're right in the same age group as us. Did you ever hear when you were in college the band Cross Canadian Ragweed?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So we've had Cody Canada on here, the lead singer of Ragweed, on a couple times, and to my knowledge, he hadn't really talked about the breakup of Ragweed at the time, and we led him in the right rabbit hole once, and he just like went in for about 20 minutes straight on why Ragweed broke up and why he went away from singing those songs, and one day he just woke up and said, "F it, these are my songs." So I'm sitting there thinking, I've never heard this, and I follow this guy's career pretty closely, so. Like we're getting in depth.
You're getting exclusive at that point, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're like sitting there researching while you're interviewing, I'm like, he's never said this before. This is new info.
Sure.
There were a few things Hainsworth that he said about his time in Washington that I considered, sending on to the beat writer there in Washington, thinking this is news. And I forget exactly what it was, but no, once you get going in that direction, and that's the one thing you guys have had music people on. That's one area I want to go more into. I had Steve Hodges on from Sony, who was really good, who's discovered a lot of artists, is an executive over their country music division. He was great, but I want more artists, musicians, actor types on the podcast moving forward. Whatever the name of the podcast is going to be moving forward, I want a little bit more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to that. And one thing we won't be getting, and you don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but we won't be getting Jonathan Hutton on Titans Radio this fall, which is very unfortunate because there's nobody better than Jonathan Hutton at doing that pregame coverage.
Yeah, it's very, very unfortunate that Mike Keith isn't the one making all decisions on Titans Radio. Look, I mean, it's pretty simple to see what happened, right?
Sure.
The statements were released, everything else. Jonathan Hutton left for a better offer, took off, Cumulus into 104.5 of his own, and while he was prepared to continue working for Titans Radio, I don't think they were prepared to keep him, and certainly wasn't a Mike Keith decision. So
sure.
I think my biggest beef is a couple things. One, just like you guys said, no one's better at it than Jonathan Hutton. If you had to point to problems for the Tennessee Titans or broadcast or anything with that organization, no one is going to point their finger at Jonathan Hutton and say, "Oh, he's a problem." He's not a problem at all. So that he's the right guy for that job. And two, it's that Mike Keith, he just recently got a promotion to vice president, and that he's not the only one making those decisions. I think when you get too many people involved in decision making at times like that, you get bad decisions like that, where Jonathan Hutton's not a part of Titans Radio. when you have someone with the expertise level of Mike Keith, he should be making all Titans radio decisions. That should be his shop. That should be his broadcast team, his travel party, his everything. And what he says goes. And I do have an issue when that's not the case. And that could be in any business with someone the level at their profession of Mike Keith. They should be the ones making the call. And Mike Keith should be the one making that call.
I agree. I just, Mike Keith is the best in the game, in my opinion, and I thought Hutton done excellent in his role there. I'm a little slow. I'm the minority on this. Like, I wasn't a big fan of Coach Mack when he first came to the Zone, and I know that's like slander for me saying that. I always used to joke on Twitter. I would say, like, if it was draft coverage or anything, and I was like, let's play a drinking game. Anytime Coach Mack says how long he's been in the NFL, or if he has he been there 30 years or 34, let's take a drink every time Coach Mack says how long he's been in and around the NFL. But he wore on me. I do like Coach Mack now.
He's a great storyteller. Like he's a guy that if you're ever around him, it's impossible not to like.
Sure.
He is so friendly to everyone. Like, I'm around him at times, and I'm thinking, why are you so nice to me? Like, this is a guy who was a head coach in the NFL, but he treats everyone that way. He's an amazing guy.
Sure.
And his energy level is incredible. He's one of those guys that whenever he's out, he's always on, and he's always the life of the gathering and telling stories and cutting up and cracking jokes. But I feel like he just, like, goes home and takes a plug out and shuts down in a closet with the robot. Like, he kind of boosts up at night and then just goes out about his day, and he does all these things, and then he goes home and he just unplugs, and he's completely silent, the entire time he's home. Doesn't speak to anyone. I feel like that's got to be Coach Mack because his energy level's so high when he's out.
Sure. Yeah, it finally comes to the realization one day when I don't know why I was like that about it, because I guess because every time you hear him on the Zone on the interview, he would talk about how long he's been in the NFL and then this kind of the same points. And he goes so deep in coverage, which is excellent. So, like, after I mentioned it to like 2 or 3 people, and I finally kind of get in the same general consensus, like, man, what the hell's wrong with you? How you don't like Coach Mack?
Well, I'm glad you came along. I am glad that you've at least come around and he's grown on you. So that's good news for you.
I do enjoy him. Yeah, I have no idea what it was, but I'd love to talk to him on here, actually, at some point. So
he'd be a great guest for you guys for sure.
Yeah, I finally said, what the hell's wrong with you, man? Let's let it go. But, well, hey, man, we appreciate you. Love talking to you. Just go ahead and plug Outkick and wherever, everybody that's not listening yet, where we can hear you at and all the avenues.
Yeah. So Outkick 360, it's noon Eastern, 11 Central, every day. It's on the Outkick Over the Top OTT network. So YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you can find us there. We are on Apple, iTunes, Podcast, Spotify, Audible, anywhere you get podcasts. You can find us once the show ends and listen to us that way in our drive home. And, check out Outkick.com. Check out everything we're doing with Outkick 360 and follow us on Twitter at Outkick 360.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Chad Withrow joining us tonight here on the One Lane Road podcast.
Good interview, DK.
Appreciate it, man. Chad's one of my favorite personalities in Nashville, and now no longer just Nashville. Those boys on the national stage with Outkick. You see some of the comments that people are giving on their YouTube feed, and there's got to be time for an adjustment. I thought those guys have killed it just right off the bat here. They just, like I said, when I spoke to their continuity, they have such a wonderful dynamic together with Hutton and PK and Chad. It's great to see those guys. 2 months. I mean, that's like we said, 2 months of doing what you do every year, every day for 9 years. And I mean, they missed like Super Bowl coverage. They missed a lot of big stuff in that 2 months away. And I think the guys, if they have any naysayers or if people who are on the Outkick Network are just joining and finding their show at the 11 o'clock time slot, if they're not digging it yet or they're not understanding it, they will.
Right.
These guys are probably still, I mean, no matter what they say, they're still making adjustments.
Right.
I think it's went great watching it. But they're going to be banging hats, and PK's finally broke out the "Don't block the box" catchphrase that he used so adamantly on the Midday 180. So they're going to get more comfortable, and I'm sure they think they're comfortable already. But
it'll just get better.
It'll get better because when we even tried to put our cameras here, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
it throws you off.
They never had cameras.
Yeah, it throws you off. Where do you look? You know, what do you do with your hands all of a sudden?
I mean, Jesus Christ, the first episode they had, a guy left a comment that Hutton's crotch was looking, his wife noticed Hutton's crotch because Chad and PK had tables in front of them,
right.
and Hutton was dead center middle camera there.
Here's my crotch.
And there, there's the junk right there up on the YouTube feed.
Something a comment that they've never had to deal with before.
Well, I mean, it's a weird comment.
It is.
It's weird regardless.
Yeah.
Here's
the thing. In whatever market that you're in or whatever that you're doing, there's like 1% of the people that are just going to be weird,
right?
And you're not going to make them happy no matter what happens.
I assume that was a joke. I mean,
it might have been, it might not have been. There's 1%.
Yeah.
You get to a bigger market, and all of a sudden that 1%, there's more people in it. So
right.
You just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so suffice to say, Hutton had a table the next day.
Yeah, why not? Let's get a table.
It's a good place for a table.
Yeah, my
right
junk's
here.
out.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm enjoying it. Hope everybody else is enjoying it. And, I have to thank those guys. They gave me a little shout out. They actually gave the OLR podcast, which you can find us if you enjoyed our interview. We don't do a lot on, you can find us on OLR podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Facebook, you can like it, One Lane Road Podcast. My personal Twitter, Lucas, as you'll come to find out, is not on social media.
Nope.
My Twitter page, which I'm pretty regular on it, DRE Kennedy _83, Dre Kennedy _83, Dustin Kennedy. So, we do interact a lot on there with our listeners, and I don't know, man. I enjoyed that one, and like I said, get out there if you.
Anybody can find me right here. This is it.
Yeah, that's it.
Like and subscribe.
And I just wouldn't roll up on Lucas unannounced because he's got guns and he's just an old country boy that they probably don't trust you.
I don't trust you. I don't trust any of you.
So yeah, man, get out there, check out Outkick 360, and check out the One Lane Road podcast. We thank you guys for listening.
All right, thanks everybody. We love you. See you next week.